You come through the front door. The keys aren't even on the hook yet. And there it is, your dog already rounding the corner, already committed, already carrying something. A rope toy, a tennis ball, that floppy stuffed duck you bought 3 years ago that has survived everything. They skid into you on the hardwood floor, tail moving so fast it barely exists, dropping the thing at your feet or pressing it directly into your hand like a transaction that matters deeply to them. You laugh. Maybe you bend down and take it. Maybe you toss it back across the room and they bring it straight back to you again, even though they want you to keep it, not throw it. And you think, cute, adorable, classic dog stuff. But here's what you didn't think, what almost no one thinks in that moment. Your dog just made a choice. Not a reflex. A choice. About what to bring. About whether to bring anything at all. About who specifically deserves to receive it. What's actually happening in that moment is something researchers have spent years trying to understand. And what they've found doesn't sound anything like cute dog behavior. It sounds like the earliest, most fundamental form of communication that exists between two different species. If you've ever wondered why your dog does this, you've probably landed on one of two explanations. The first is excitement. They need to do something with the energy, and carrying something in their mouth is how they manage the overwhelm of seeing you again. The second is play. They want a game. They want you to throw it, tug it, engage with it. The toy is a request, not a gift. Both of these make sense, and both of them are partially true. But researchers who have spent years examining dog cognition, specifically the link between social motivation, object use, and the unique bond dogs form with humans, have found something underneath those explanations that changes what this moment means entirely. The toy isn't just about the toy. It never really was. There's a study from 2026 that gets to the center of this in a way I find genuinely hard to shake. We'll get there, but to understand what it means, we have to go back further, back to the beginning of why dogs bring things to humans at all. Dr. Stanley Coren, professor emeritus in the Department of Psychology at the University of British Columbia, has spent decades studying the cognitive and behavioral architecture of domestic dogs. His observation on the retrieval instinct is one of the most clarifying things you'll encounter on this topic. He describes watching a friend choose a puppy from a golden retriever litter. These puppies were 6 weeks old. Their eyes had been open for barely a week. And when his friend tossed a small plush toy across the room, one of the puppies, completely untrained, just weeks old, walked after it, picked it up, carried it back, and placed it directly in her hand. Coren's explanation of that moment is exact. That's wired. Not learned. Not reinforced. Not a lucky accident. The behavior came pre-installed because for roughly 400 years, possibly longer, humans selectively bred certain dogs to do precisely that. Gun dogs, water dogs, field dogs, animals whose entire working relationship with humans depended on picking something up and returning it, intact, to the person they worked alongside. We didn't teach those dogs to bring us things. We built that impulse directly into their biology, generation by generation, until the act of retrieval became inseparable from the act of connecting with a human. This matters more than it first appears, because it means the behavior you're seeing has ancient roots. Your dog's drive to pick something up and carry it to you isn't random. It isn't some byproduct of boredom. It's the living remnant of one of the most deliberate biological relationships humans have ever constructed with another species. When your dog brings you that toy, they are doing what generations of their ancestors were bred and shaped and selected to do. They are completing a circuit. They are returning something to you. They're saying, in the only language they have, here, this is for you. But here's where it gets more interesting. Because it's not just retriever breeds. It's not just the dogs who were wired for it centuries ago. It's almost all of them across breeds, across ages, which means something else is driving it too. In 2026, animal behaviorist Dr. Andrea Samis, working out of the Department of Ethology at Lorand University in Vienna, published a study in the journal Animal Cognition that was designed to investigate something specific. The difference between dogs who rapidly learn the names of their toys, called gifted word learners, and typical dogs who don't show that ability. The study involved 10 gifted word-learning dogs and 21 typical dogs, all border collies, observed at home over 2 weeks. Each dog played with 4 toys, 2 whose names the owner used repeatedly, and 2 that were played with but never named. Afterward, all the dogs were brought into a free exploration test with those toys plus brand new ones, while their owners stayed passive. The researchers went in expecting the gifted dogs to show more interest in the named toys, that the labeling would make those objects more meaningful, more attention-worthy. That's what happens in human infants. That's not what happened. Every dog, gifted or typical, showed the same toy preference. They all gravitated toward the novel ones. The names meant nothing to them in that context. What the labels had done, or hadn't done, was irrelevant to how they explored objects when left to themselves. But then the researchers looked at something else. Not what the dogs did with the toys, what they did with the people. The gifted word learners, the dogs who could learn dozens of toy names, were significantly more likely to pick up a toy, especially a new one, and bring it directly to their caregiver to start an interaction. Not to play, not in the traditional sense. To initiate contact. To involve a human in what they were experiencing. The typical dogs, by contrast, tended to simply stay close to their owners, leaning against them, being near them, but without actively recruiting them into the object world. Samis described this distinction as a difference in social style, not curiosity. And the researchers noted that this behavior mirrors what human developmental scientists study as the earliest signs of communicative intent in infants: pointing, showing, holding up an object for a caregiver to see. Not to hand something over, not to request something, but to share the experience of it. Think about what this means for your dog. That moment with the rope toy at the door. Your dog isn't just excited. They may be doing something that researchers compare to the first gesture a human child makes when they want to tell you something they don't have words for yet. The toy is a shared point of attention. It is the mechanism of connection. It is the only way they know how to say, "Look at this. Look at me. I am here with you, and this is what I have." And there's a neurological layer to this that makes it even more specific. Research published in 2017 in the journal Frontiers in Psychology, led by ethologist Eniko Kabinyi and her team at Yavuz Lorand University in Budapest, examined the genetic basis of how dogs greet humans. They studied polymorphisms in two genes, the oxytocin receptor gene and the opioid receptor gene, across several breeds, and found that variations in these genes were directly linked to variations in greeting behavior. Dogs with certain allele configurations approached humans more frequently, initiated contact more readily, showed more affiliative behaviors in reunion moments. What this study reveals is that your dog's greeting behavior, including whether they bring you something, isn't purely habit or training. Part of it is encoded. Part of it is as fundamental to who they are as the color of their eyes. The urgency you feel when they press that toy into your hand has a biological signature. The bond that produces that gesture is running on neurotransmitter systems shaped by tens of thousands of years of coevolution between your species and theirs. There's one more layer, and it's the one that changes how you'll see this from now on. Not every dog who brings you a toy is saying the same thing. This is worth understanding, because the difference reveals something about how well you're reading your dog. When a dog brings you a toy and releases it, drops it at your feet, nudges it into your lap, presses it into your hand, and then looks at you and waits, that's the purest version of what we've been describing. They're not looking for a game. They're not asking you to throw it back. They're offering something. The toy is a vehicle for connection, and the connection is the point. But when a dog brings you a toy and doesn't let go, carries it proudly but keeps a grip on it, prances near you without quite releasing it, that's a different communication. That's closer to display. They're showing you something. They're sharing in the excitement of having it, not offering it as a gift. Watch their eyes in that moment. If they're tracking your face, waiting to see your reaction to what they're carrying, that dog is seeking acknowledgement. They want to know that you see what they have. Both of these behaviors are healthy. Both of them are positive. The distinction matters because your response to each one can either deepen the communication or subtly close it down. If your dog is offering and you immediately throw the toy across the room, you've redirected a social moment into a game. That's not terrible, but you've also missed something. The more meaningful response to a dog who is offering, who brings the toy and lets go and looks at you, is a moment of acknowledgement first. Take it, hold it, make eye contact. Let them know you received what they were trying to give you. Then throw it, if that's what you both want. There is anecdotal documentation from multiple veterinary behaviorists, including Dr. Mark Bikoff, cited in The Farmer's Dog, 2025, of dogs bringing toys specifically to owners who are unwell or upset, suggesting empathic or social referencing motivation. Confirm peer-reviewed evidence for comfort-directed toy offering before including in script. What we do know from the research on social motivation, particularly the SAMI's 2026 study, is that dogs who are more motivated to involve humans in object interactions are more socially attuned overall. The toy bringing is a signal of relationship quality, not just individual temperament. It tends to be directed at specific people, not just any person in the room, not the stranger, not the neighbor. You. Here is the thing that doesn't get said often enough. Your dog lives in a world without a calendar, without a future they can plan for or a past they can mourn. They exist almost entirely in the present moment, which means every time they bring you that toy, it isn't a habit they've accumulated. It isn't a behavior they're performing because they've learned it will earn them something. It is what they are doing with the present moment they are actually in. Right now, with you. They have assessed the room. They have found you. They have selected something. Not just anything, but often something specific, something familiar, something that matters to them. And they have carried it to you. Because you are the point. You are the center of the present moment they are living inside of. Dr. Shani Dror and her colleagues at Yevush-Lorand University documented something in their research on gifted word learner dogs that has stayed with me. Some of these dogs know the names of 200 objects. Individual objects. Named, remembered, retrievable on request. And when these dogs walk into a room full of their toys, what researchers found they wanted most wasn't to play with the toys. What they wanted was to bring one to a person. Not the toy, the relationship. The toy was just how they said so. Think about your dog this morning. Think about what they did when you first appeared, when you walked into the kitchen or came down the stairs. If they ran for something, if they picked something up, if they pressed it into your hands or dropped it at your feet, they were doing the only thing they could do to meet the size of what they felt. They couldn't write it down. They couldn't say it. They could only find the nearest thing that mattered to them and bring it to you. That is what that moment is. It is not a cute quirk of animal behavior. It is your dog telling you, in the only vocabulary they have, that the world is better now that you are in it, that your presence changed something, that they wanted you to know. Your dog brings you their toy because you are worth bringing it to. That's the simplest version of everything we covered. The breeding history, the social motivation research, the neuroscience of greeting, the way some dogs know 200 toy names and still just want to hand one to a person. Under all of it, the same thing. You are the point. If you want to keep understanding what your dog is actually trying to tell you, the science behind the behaviors you've always noticed but never fully understood, subscribe. There's a lot more of this. And I want to know, does your dog bring you specific toys, or is it always whatever's closest? There's something in that choice worth noticing. Drop it in the comments. Next time, we're looking at something that probably happened to you today, and you wrote off as nothing. Your dog locked eyes with you, didn't look away, didn't blink, just held your gaze like they were waiting for something you didn't know you were supposed to give. Most people assume it's dominance or a training habit, or just a dog being weird. The science says it's none of those things, and what it actually is will make you think very differently about every quiet moment you've shared with them.